Today's episode of the Know Your Gear podcast is brought to you by Patreon members, channel members, and viewers who like and subscribe. Thank you for making this possible. The Know Your Gear podcast.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the Know Your Gear podcast, episode 367 on June 14th, 2024, and it's Father's Day weekend, so hopefully some of you fathers out there have some great plans this weekend, and we'll be talking some guitars. You can do it guilt-free you can do guilt-free this Friday, no problem, or this weekend, whenever you're watching it. So we have a lot of things to cover. Most importantly, we usually do the announcements first. The biggest announcement, of course, is we were giving away a Gretsch Electromatic with Sweetwater and a Gretsch hardshell case, and we have a winner for that. Let's go to where that is. Okay, ready. John Burks is the winner. In fact, I emailed him and he emailed me back. He said, hey, Phil, I got an email that said I won the Gretsch. He says, I was asking for information. If that's true, it's awesome, but I'm skeptical. Well, John, you don't have to be skeptical. That's why I want to make the announcement on the live show so you know it's happening. And John, I have some extra exciting news for you. Not only are you getting the Gretsch and the Gretsch case and some KYG stickers, picks, and some patches, but also the amazing folks at Zither Stands, which is like the one behind me, is going to send you a Know Your Gear Zither stand. Tony at Zither, who's an amazing person, has been a supporter of the channel, saw me talking about this on the last couple podcasts. He messaged me this week and he said, hey, would you mind if we gave away the winner a $200 Know Your Gear Zither stand? And I was like, nope, I am totally cool with that. I appreciate that in every way, and I'm sure he's going to appreciate it in every way. So I love that, right? Don't you love it when you're like, you get a little bit more than what you expected, right? So fantastic. I'm excited about that. The only thing, John, to know is the guitar and case will be shipped to you from us, and then Zither will send you directly from them. So we'll give them your address when I get your information. Okay. Congratulations and thank you guys. That was fun. I want to thank Sweetwater for that. I want to thank my wife because she's the one that picked out the guitar and contacted Sweetwater to do that. I want to thank Zither Stands for being amazing. And keep in mind, it's Father's Day. If you want to treat yourself to a Zither stand, you can get one at Sweetwater. Or if you want a KYG stand, let us know. Maybe we'll put them back on our website. We should have done that for Father's Day. Anyone want a Know Your Gear Zither stand? We'll make that happen. So there you go. All right, let's talk about other things. Any other announcements looking at, other than to thank the sponsors of this channel, which is the patrons and the channel members. Thank you guys so much for that. You guys are the sponsors for all 367 episodes. I appreciate that more than you can ever imagine. And one last most important probably thing, if you're in the Phoenix Mesa area, tomorrow at Zimms Guitars at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, there will be a free clinic with the amazing Grammy-winning producer and guitar player Larry Mitchell, my great friend. He will be there tomorrow providing you guys an amazing clinic. And he's done these before. He does them everywhere he goes. But something really cool is they don't film the clinics ever because he likes everyone to go to experience it and not have seen it before. So it's one of those things you go there and you just have an amazing time, watch an amazing player, and I highly recommend it, especially for the price. How can you beat that? You know, in today's day and age, you can't. Even with inflation, it's the same price as it was with inflation. Okay, early riser questions. Let's get to that. Let me see. I had one I grabbed, I thought. This one came from the 59 Sound. Says, hey, Phil, what advice would you give a to Quilter amps? It seems like the guitar community has been sleeping on them through the quality is, although the quality is there. Man, I don't know what's wrong with me today. Where have they missed the mark? You know, Quilter amps is, I don't know much about them as a company. Here's what I know about them. When I started my YouTube channel many years ago, that was one of the, I would say if there was 10 brands that was coming up on the channel all the time, it was Quilter. And I reached out to them. The channel had been doing pretty good. So I reached out to them and said, hey, I do reviews. I would love to buy one of your amps and review it. At that time, you know, it didn't occur to me to ask them for a loaner or anything like that. And they were very nice. I think they gave me, I can't remember what the discount was, but they said, yeah, of course, they checked. I had a channel. They said, yeah, it looked pretty good. We'll give you a discount. And I bought it. They sent it and reviewed it. It's still on my channel to this day. And I gave it a glowing review. I really, really enjoyed it. The only negative I said about that amp was that it didn't have reverb. And if it did, I would love it. So, of course, I sold it because I was like, And then immediately, not because of that video, I think it was already planned in the works. Immediately after that, they came out with that same amp with reverb. But it had gone up in price a little bit, and it moved from USA to China. And I was like, you know how you feel about that stuff. It's not so much. I know everybody has opinions about where stuff's made, but my whole thing was like, it was made in the USA, and now it's the same or more, and it's made overseas. And you're like, I should have kept my USA one. And that was the last time I think I ever talked to the Quilter folks. So where are they missing the mark? Look, I say it all the time. If you have a company and you want to sell things to the guitar community, especially the internet, you just reach out to channels and you say, hey, look, I'd like to get my products out there. That's how they get in people's face. Like I said, this is how they get talked about on this show. We're talking about them right now because you brought it up. I just reviewed today the new, we'll be using it today in the Guitar of the Week. I just reviewed today the new Laney amp, and it's fantastic. It's the Ironheart amp that is a 60 watt pedal. Now, they had one before, but that one was made in China. Now, this one's been brought back and redesigned and now made in the UK. It's got 2 channels, it's got reverb, and it's got a boost pedal, boost in it control. It's all foot switchable. And I have to say, the most important thing is I absolutely love it for one reason and one reason only, because it has a fantastic clean sound, which is all I really want from an amp. Like, that's my base. I need a great clean. I can buy a pedal. The odds are, even if the amp has a great distortion, over time I get bored of it, or I'm not in the mood for it, and that's why I'm rotating amps all the time. But I notice like amps like the Princeton or the 65 Deluxe or the Hot Rod Deluxe, or insert your favorite clean amp here, I find I'm always coming back to them because I'm always like, I'll just run a pedal through it. But if I can't get the clean to sound amazing, if I can't feel inspired with that, I'll never like the amplifier. And so this has a fantastic clean. Today I'm just using it as clean with a little bit of reverb, and I'll be running my pedals through it because I absolutely love that. And it's Class D. It's basically the same thing as Quilter, same kind of technology, just with Laney's, flavoring on it. But why Laney's being highlighted today? Laney reached out to me and said, hey, we'd like to see if you'd be interested in checking out a new amp before it comes to the market. Of course, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. So send in Quilter. Hey, Quilter, if you see this, if somebody sends it to you, just reach out to us. This just recently happened. It's probably too soon to say. I'm probably screw it up, so I'm not going to tell you the company. But last weekend, you guys did exactly what I said. Somebody mentioned a brand. How come I haven't reviewed the brand? I said, I haven't come across one. A great friend of the channel reached out and said, I actually have a connection with them. I'll hook you up. We call it a soft introduction. He emailed them. He emailed me, and we connected. I told the company, look, and like I told you guys, and as I've always said this over the years, there's only 3 reasons to do a video for me. It's either you want it, I want it, or the company wants it. In this case, it was you wanted it. So of course I didn't go, here's my rates, here's what I want to charge you. That is something I would say if you contact me. If a company contacts me and says we'd like to, get a product on the channel, I'm like, well, I got to pay bills, so we got to work out some kind of agreement. But when my audience wants it, or I want it, well, then there's probably going to be views to pay the bills. So, or maybe there's going to be subscriptions, or maybe, super chats, or maybe patrons, you'll patron. So I told them, absolutely, I want the guitar on the channel, and we didn't even talk about money. The only thing, just so you know, is because it's a really exciting guitar. Some of you guys are going to guess. And I basically said, what if I love it? Could I keep it on a loan? And I like that idea. I want to ask the YouTuber that told me this idea. He's not a YouTuber, so that's the first thing. He's on YouTube, but I wouldn't call him a YouTuber. Fantastically talented person. He's the one that taught me, hey, why don't you just tell companies when you love something, if you could just borrow it and for as long, because sometimes you keep it a year and you're sick of it. Oh, sick of it's not the right word, but you understand. You've played through it. But a lot of times you just can't get love to it anymore. And so it goes back. But somebody says Hagstrom. You know what? You threw out all your guesses I won't answer, unfortunately. But this is my point about what's great about having this Friday show. You guys bring up brands. Quilter's one of them. So if Quilter sees this, you guys send this to them and they reach out to us. That's what I'm saying, is that normally what I would say, here's my rates and this is what I charge. Quilter would be, my audience wants to see you guys on the channel. Can we just work out something to where we just get you on the channel? And that's the best thing about having this weekly interaction with you guys. Okay. By the way, thank you so much for all the super chats. Vim69, thank you so much for the Happy Father's Day super chat. It's really nice of you. I'm sure somebody's going to go, what did you get for Father's Day? Maybe I'll say that at the end. Maybe I'll talk about that at the end. It'd be the last thing you guys expected, I'm sure. Maybe we'll do, I don't know what I would give away, but maybe if I could get, we'll do something fun. Somebody remind me, one of the moderators, somebody remind me towards the end of the show that I need to tell everybody what I got for Father's Day, and then we'll give away something for somebody who can guess it, even in the ballpark. Let's see. Let me go back to some questions here. And like I said, if you're super chatting me, please, thank you so much for it. It supports the channel. But more importantly, what's great is I'm banking them so I can hit them and I don't have to hit them right away. So the super chats, in theory, it's supposed to guarantee that your question gets answered because I have it in a queue and I can look at it. Let me double check that that's happening before I say something like that. And that's what's happening. So you're all I see all of your super chats. So thank you. It allows me to kind of hit people in real time and then go into extra innings, so to speak, for the super chats. All right. What else? Also, if you're like the moderators are telling you guys, if you're trying to get my attention, please put a question mark at the beginning. Lets me know that it's to me. This comes from Mike. Says, hey, Phil, I'm moving tomorrow, and I was wondering if you had any suggestions for techs in San Diego. I don't know any specific techs in San Diego. I'm trying to think. San Diego is one of those places I go there on the pretty on the regular, but it's just one of those things. I don't hit a lot of the local stores anymore. I used to. I just don't anymore. The crazy thing that's happened that I almost cannot believe, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a post-COVID thing. I don't know if it's having an amazing guitar collection. I don't know if it's been doing YouTube for all these years. I don't know what it is, but it's now gotten so bad when I go to different towns. My wife even goes, hey, there's a music store. You want to go to it? I'm like, nah. I don't go to music stores anymore. I very rarely pop in. I gotta be with somebody who says, let's go to a music store. In fact, I think I told you this. I bought an amp in San Diego from Guitar Center. I bought an MT15, and that was, again, I was with a patron, John, who was amazing, and his wife. We had breakfast, and my wife said, do you guys want to go to Guitar Center? I didn't even say that. So it's, so I need to, next time I go to San Diego, hit some of the local shops and maybe talk to some of the guitar techs. And, but if somebody in the area that's watching, could you please put in the comments a suggestion for him? Preferably someone you actually had them do the work, especially recently, and had great experiences with. I'm sure they'd appreciate the shout out. I'm sure he'd appreciate the referral. Okay, let's see. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, hold on. I see what's happening. I'm far behind on the chat. Okay, let me hop around here. Fast Freddy 333 says, Phil, I see a lot of used Kiesel guitars for sale at Guitar Center. They seem to be holding their value. I think they hold their value considering they're all semi-custom guitars. I think Jeff has done an amazing job at turning that around. Now, it's all within perspective. First of all, the market's softening, so the resale value will sag on all those guitars. As we know, no guitars will ever have the resale value, in my opinion, of Fender and Gibson. I mean, just they're going to be the holy grails of resale value. Will other companies like PRS and Kiesel and Ibanez and all those have great resale value? Sure, they will, but no one's going to be the pinnacle of Gibson and Fender for a long time, and in a long, long time. But I think Kiesel has done a great job because not only has Kiesel, here's my argument. I've heard it both ways. I've heard like, oh, I don't want to buy a Kiesel because resale value sucks. I know the resale value doesn't totally suck because I know what my my special, I guess I'll say special artist pricing is at Kiesel. In other words, I get a deal if I buy a Kiesel, and I get a deal from a lot of companies. And in fact, recently a company offered me a guitar at a deal, but I can find that guitar cheaper used than I can find it, than I can get their deal. And so what I can tell you with Kiesel is their discount to me, which is very favorable, is better than what I can find used ones for. Otherwise, I'd look at used ones because I could pick up a cool, Kiesel and know the weight, know what it's going to look like, and not have to wait for it. Because either way, you got to wait for it. Used, but usually the resale is pretty good. The Kiesel resale has gotten so good that it brought the Carvin resale value up, because Carvins you used to pick up for no money. And I know it's Kiesel that did that. Here's why I know. Because there's two brands, technically three brands of guitars, but I want to stick to these two for this analogy. I'll tell you the third brand's PV, but the two I want to focus on, there's two brands that I think are pound for pound the best guitar product you can buy for the short money when it comes to use, and it's Godin and Carvin. You could buy those, and PV too, but man, definitely Godin and Carvin. And although Godin used prices went up pretty strong during the boom, they have come down dramatically back to what they used to are. Used to be, you can buy a Godin that's, $1,500 new and find it for $300-$400 used, find really smoking deals, where the Kiesel's not so much. So I think Kiesel's really helped the branding and then brought the Carvin level up, in my opinion. Especially some of those Carvins, you could get them so cheap. They were so good. But Spooner Love says, buy a used Kiesel and the resale value is incredible. Yeah, like I said, I think it's cool that he's brought the resale value up. It's for sure. Like I said, obviously I'm a fan of the product. I mean, here's the simple thing. Obviously, if there's a guitar behind me on this wall, it's funny. I was engaged with some interesting conversations this week, one of which really was really saddening in the fact that I should have filmed it. If I would have known I was going to have such a crazy engaging conversation, I would have filmed it. And it was about doing reviews and me doing reviews and what do I think and how do you figure out, if I like something or not like something. And I was basically explaining, I've always said this, I don't review gear that I just like, so I know channels say that, like, I only review things I like, and that's not true. I don't only review things I like. Like I said, sometimes I have to review things that you guys are interested in. Sometimes companies reach out and they're like, hey, we want to sponsor a video. And you're like, okay, it looks like a decent product and, they're going to pay. And that money helps me pay for videos that aren't paid, right? It all helps. But I will tell you this. I have not, in all my reviews and videos, not ever reviewed something I didn't find interesting. And interesting is a great word, because it doesn't mean I liked. It doesn't mean I don't review things that I dislike. I review things that I find interesting. And sometimes you find many reasons why something is really calling to you. Sometimes I'm interested because I'm curious. Sometimes I'm interested because it's different and I need something different to break the monotony, of what I'm doing. Sometimes interesting to me because I think it's going to be interesting to you, and it's going to that pulls me in with the whole I'm going to get great, views or great interaction from you guys. So there's all kinds of reasons why I grab a product and talk about it. But what I will tell you is so that's the answer to that. But what I will tell you that's probably something to really pay attention to is, on the Friday show, what's on my back wall really has a lot of meaning. It used to be, if you notice, a lot of times it was whatever I was working on that week, you would catch a glimpse of it. Sometimes you're like, what's that guitar? And then the following week you see the video and you're like, oh, that's why it was on his wall. But I'm not in those same rooms anymore. I have multiple rooms now to film in. The room I'm in now this room is mainly for the podcast. I'll do audio. I do the audio recording for the audio recording part of the videos, but most of the video is done in the other room. So what's in here is usually something I find that I like. That's why it's here. So obviously, you see a Gibson, you see a Texas Toast, you see Valente, you see Kiesel, you see Framus. These are guitars I find interesting and I like. So that's why they're here. So that's what I said. It's just a kind of nice little tidbit to go on a tale. What's interesting about it to me? Why is it here? So okay, man, you guys are really jumping around on subjects. Okay, let's see. No, conscientious I don't know how to say either. I don't know. I'm messing it up. Wants to know, do I use any Neural DSP plugins? If so, what are your favorites? I don't. The Kiesel guys now have a Neural DSP plugin set that's really cool. I watched all the videos. They reached out and I said, I love to support you guys. It's one of those things. Like I like Kiesel, obviously. I work with them. I'd like to promote you more if I could. And I said, I just don't use those things. So I use a Kemper for recording and stuff. I do have some programs that I use, like Amplitude and stuff that I use, but I really very rarely use computer stuff. I used to use it a lot when traveling on my laptop, and now I've kind of gone to the Positive Grid stuff. I'm just using the Positive Grid Spark, a little Spark, and I'll run that into an interface. So I'm curious about the stuff, but I'm not really not using it. So, I use stuff for, I think it's because of the fact that I use reviews primarily. And in reviews, I need physical product. I need a physical amp. A lot of people don't want to hear stuff. Some do. Some of you guys say, hey, why don't you just run it through like Neural DSP and stuff like that. But my problem is you're trying to capture what's in the room and what experience, I'm having, and kind of keep that in the video. Okay, hold on a second. Okay. Let's do Dimarzio X says they have a 14-day trial. Just try them. Oh, that's nice. That's good to know. That's really cool to know that kind of stuff. I find that the more I have done YouTube, the more I have recorded more music, and the more I keep things as simple as possible. So I will use very little when it comes to, what I have to use. Okay, let me switch this over here. Okay, and all right. We have Sir, I'm going to say Toggle, says, new guitar day, a Hazel Burst Sterling Luke. Oh, that's a great guitar. Thanks for providing so much knowledge and fun for us guitar nerds. Man, thank you. Great guitar day. That's an awesome guitar, man. I love Music Man stuff. Luke is probably one of that and the Axis are the two Music Mans I'd like to get next if I get a Music Man. One of those two for sure. Miserable Turd says, Sir Phil, have you ever played a Fender Starcaster? Your thoughts? I have played both Starcasters, the real one and the abomination that was at the Costco. So for those of you guys don't know, Starcaster can have, so Miserable Turd, just so you know, you might not know this, that Starcaster has two meanings to two different kinds of players. To one player, much like yourself, it's a hollow body guitar. Let's find a picture of it. So let's do this. Fender Starcaster, and it's a really cool guitar. Here you go. Let's go to images. Let's share one. Okay. And there's reissues, the Modern Player series, of course. I'm trying to find like an original one, but it is what it is. Here you go. Here is let me hold on a second. Okay. Here is, let's move that. Here is a Starcaster right here. So this is what some players think a Starcaster is. And then if you notice, like I hit Google Images, then there's this. And this is a hilarious guitar. So some people don't know if they have a Starcaster that it looks like a Fender. What it was Fender not trying to piss off dealers. You understand, the world we understand now has evolved. It's evolving now as we speak when it comes to sales and guitars and how it works. There was a time where Fender sold dealers Fender guitars and Squier guitars. And then the big box stores came around and they said, hey, we want some guitars. And of course, why not go to Squier? Why should Costco have to sell, whatever, right? Some off-brand guitar. They want Fender, they want Squier, they want legitimate product. And so the concern was, although those big box stores could sell a crap ton of guitars at Christmas, cheap $99 guitars and packages, but the dealers would get pissed, and that's the mainstay, right? That's your bread and butter. So what they did is they took some Squier product and they rebranded it as Starcaster. And it actually, I think it backfired. Here's why it backfired. It pissed off Fender fans who are like, why are they calling that thing a Starcaster? The Starcaster was that cool hollow body. So for a while, that's how it was. Yeah, somebody says Hello Kitty Starcaster. Yeah, there was all kinds of Starcaster stuff you'd find it at probably Target, but definitely Costco and places like that. And then they stopped doing it and then brought back Starcaster for real as a reissue. So Miserable Turd, to answer your question, I'm familiar with both Starcasters. Of course, you mean the cool hollow body one. Great guitars. It's one of those guitars that it's not that I regret not buying one, but for a while when they first reissued them, they did great. And then they just, like everything, they made too many and they were blowing them out everywhere. And I should have picked one up on the short money because, at one point you could pick them up for nothing. And I should have done that. It's a cool guitar for sure. But my thoughts, it's a cool guitar. And I always liked the headstock. Some people hate that headstock. I always liked it. J Carr with 2 R's. says, have you heard anything about Gibson and James Hetfield putting out a signature Explorer? I have an Ebony 80s Explorer. I would, if that's something you're interested in, I would definitely follow Trogley. He's going to know or put it out before probably anybody. He's focused so much on the Gibson product. So that's, sadly enough, I haven't heard anything like that. It's one of those things, like I'm a Metallica fan, I'm a Gibson fan, but I'm not looking for a James Hetfield Explorer personally, so it's not something I've seen. So it has to really kind of pop up on a big, mass marketing thing for me to see it, something like that. But I would follow Trogley's channel if you want to know. He's going to probably leak it or show it before anybody else, as that's his high focus. He's trying to stay on top of whatever Gibson product comes out as soon as it comes out. Shaolin says, what's the best glue to use to glue the frets back on your carbon fretboard on a Parker guitar? My tech says they will eventually fall off no matter what. Well, your tech doesn't know what he's talking about. The truth is, the reason they fell off in the first place, was the mix was wrong. So there were Parkers, and there have been Parkers over the years where the frets have come off. Now, there is a possibility, it's a very, very small possibility, that maybe some kind of environmental thing happened with a cold or heat or something, and somehow they broke off. But you gotta understand, it's like when people say, when you glue wood, it's even stronger than, what it was before. It's true with the same with the epoxy. I could tell you that when they epoxied on the frets on a lot of those guitars, they're on there harder than just pressed in frets, for sure. I have never seen, personally, I've seen Parkers delaminate, okay, so and I've even cut myself on the side of a fretboard of a Parker that delaminated. It was really bad. It wasn't like I cut myself. It was like blood's gushing out of my palm, and I'm like, what's going on? Because I slid across it, and I told you guys the fretboard on a Parker Fly is paper thin, and it had lifted up just enough, right? It had lifted up to where it was maybe, I don't even know, 0.25 millimeters away, and I couldn't visually see it, and it was on the treble side, so I wasn't looking at it anyways, and I slid my hand across it, and it wasn't the frets popping out, it was the actual, basically like a carbon fiber blade, and it just slit my hand, and I was like, oh, and that had happened because the epoxy mix that they did, delaminated, it just didn't hold. And so over the years of working on Parkers and seeing all the Parkers, I have seen that before. I've seen Parkers delaminate and it's usually because of poor mix. I am not a huge epoxy expert by any means, but I've used so much epoxy over the years that I know that you can get bad epoxy. I've had that happen to me. I know you can mix it incorrectly. I know that there's environments, and when you're mixing it, it can be problematic. I've had friends who are, I would not say epoxy experts, but epoxy on a level to where I at least trust them. They know it way better than I do, and they've talked about this too. So my guess is if you had something something come apart because of epoxy, it is most likely because it was mixed incorrectly, the mix was bad, something happened, and if you were to do it correctly this time, it would hold forever. And the reason I know that is because I have worked on, I don't care how many Parkers I've played. It's how many Parkers I've worked on. I've worked on 1,000 Parkers, maybe I'm exaggerating, but say 500, just keep things safe over the years. And I know what I've seen Parkers do and don't do. And I know there's always going to be one off anomaly. There's a famous guitar player. I forgot his name, but I don't remember. I don't remember other than reading the article. And he was playing Parkers, and he got upset because his frets delaminated. From that, all of a sudden, on forums, people were discussing it all the time, and it was kind of funny because it's kind of like if a YouTube channel was to mention a one in a happenstance crazy thing, and then all of a sudden, because they mention it, like you have 800 people regurgitating that it's happened to them, and it's not possible. It's not possible, because you would see them all over the place for sale or issues. Trying to find Parker's missing frets is a very hard thing to find as a whole. So I would say if you did happen, it can happen, obviously, because like I said, I've seen it in other versions and I've heard of it happening. I would say that you just need to do them correctly. You're going to use epoxy, and my guess is if you're taking it to a tech, well, first of all, don't take it to that tech. Second thing is find somebody who knows how to do it and have them do it. So, but that's my recommendation to you, especially for a guitar like that. You gotta understand those guitars are holding value. They're never gonna make them again. I keep saying that, when I started my channel, this came up, Parker had closed, and every week it was like driving me mad because people were like, "Did you see Parker's coming back?" And then Parker even leaked it at the NAMM show. They're coming back, and I'm like, "Parker's never coming back." And people were like, "They're coming back." And I remember you'd have to go back in the episodes. There's me arguing with a viewer about this. Like, "No, you feel Parker's back next year. You're wrong." And I'm like, "I know they're never coming back." And the reason I know that they're never coming back the way they are now, and when I say never, I mean 99% chance that they're not coming back the way that they were before. If they do come back, it may be an import version. It might be a variant of the guitars in some way. Like I said, I happen to know what it costs to start up that facility, and those molds and all that stuff and what it costs. And I know that, I know what that company made, and it's going to take it's not about the technology. It's about the craziness of the person who's going to want to invest in that. It's a crazy thing. Half this industry is full of crazy people. To find more of them, it's getting tougher. To find that person is like, here's what you need to do. Get $2 million, invest it, and you'll make it back in 10. Yeah, there's not a lot of people who are very excited to take those kind of propositions. So it's, it's a lot easier to get into businesses where you get more profit, there's bigger customer base, and the costs are not so high. One of the biggest problems with the Parker guitars is the skill set. Those guys, they lost those guys. There's a guy, I was just recently talking to Nathan, he's one of the guys that worked at that facility, and now he's working for Schecter. You understand, they lost those talented people. So now they got to get new talented people, and then they got to retrain those people. It's going to be crazy. So I would, if in your case, make sure it's done right and get it fixed and keep it, because it's a great guitar. And like I said, that's what's great about epoxy is it's pretty bulletproof. Road Song, cool name. I like that. It says, if I had a 3 pickup Gibson, what pickups would you? If you had a 3 pickup Gibson, what pickups would I choose? I wouldn't have a 3 pickup Gibson. If I did, I guess they would be 3 P90s. That would be my only logic for that. I don't have any desire for 3. If you notice, look on the wall, there's a lot of guitars out there that are, 3 pickup in the idea of not only HSS, humbucker, single humbucker, single, stuff like that. If you notice, most of my 3 pickup guitars are single coils, and maybe humbucker, single. Very rare do I have a HSS pickup and I don't have any 3 humbuckers. Like if I was going to get a 3 pickup Gibson for some reason, it would be an SG with 3 P90s. That would be the only thing I could conceive that I'd be interested in for that reason. So So it's a great idea. I would really like a lot of you guys. Maybe you should put in what you would do. I just think, and at that point, it would just be like a really fat sounding Strat kind of guitar to me. 3P90 sound great. Corey F says, after a long drought, I recently had a new guitar day, 2016 Heritage H150 inspired by you. Oh, that's awesome. Like I said, I love my Heritage. It's behind my head right there. I did not end up keeping the first one. We talked about keeping the first one. Unfortunately, the person I deal with was on vacation and we were waiting, and I was getting nervous keeping their guitar because they'd sent me the RA label. And I didn't want to give that perception of like I'm holding their guitar. So we held it for as long as I thought I could reasonably hold the guitar. I kept telling Shauna, like, don't ship it yet. And then she shipped it, and like literally, as what they call it, Murphy's Law, as soon as she shipped it, they emailed me and said, hey, we'll give you a discount on it. And I was like, oh, cool. But to be honest with you, as you guys know, I love the guitar, but I was gonna refret it. But the discount they gave me is actually what Sweetwater will sell me the guitar for. So I was like, okay, we don't need to go through having them get it back to me and go through all that stuff. I can just get one through Sweetwater. So so that's what we'll do. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of thinking about just getting an H150 non-custom shop version because I have the custom shop one there. Something like that. Let's see. It says it has the Seymour Duncan Seth Lover pickups, Alnico 2s. My question is, how do they differ sonically from the Seymour Duncan 59s? Thank you. I look at the Seth Lover pickups the same way I look at the Paul Reed-Smith 57s versus the 59s, like the 5708s versus 5909s. I think the 5909s so let me stick with Seymour Duncan. I think the 59s are just a little bit more aggressive. Which is saying very little because they're not an aggressive sounding pickup. But they have a little bit more bite in them to where the Seth Lovers, I think, are a little smoother. I think of the Seth Lovers as like a beautiful, amazing, clean sounding pickup that sounds really smooth with an amplifier, where the 59s have a great clean sound, but there's, when you run through the amp, you can get a little bit of the bite, not as much as you would get with some more aggressive pickups like a JB. I'm sticking to Seymour Duncan stuff because you're talking about Seymour Duncans. I would also say that I would probably never switch a set of Seth Lovers for 59s, nor would I switch a set of 59s to Seth Lovers. To me, it's really tough to switch pickups that are so close to each other because the differences you're going to hear are very small. But if it's a big deal to you, maybe do it. But that's what I think you would get. That just a little bit more bite is how I would see it. They're gonna sound very similar, but a little bit more bite than the Seth Lovers. Luke says, "Hey, 2013 EMG 81 sounds great, but older 81s sounds dull. Do pickups, EMGs, etc. degrade in tone over the years?" Yes. So let's go. Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me get to the rest. What causes the difference in sound with the same pickup only from different years? Okay, so first of all, EMGs are active, but they are not made differently than a traditional pickup. So just because it's a block to you, it looks like a block of plastic. That doesn't mean it is a block of plastic. It's literally two bobbins, and they're wound with wire, and then they epoxy the hell out of it, black epoxy, and they put a preamp in there, and then the preamp is boosting the sound basically because they're really using really weak magnets. That's the big thing about an EMG, right? It's basically a very weak pickup. The theory being that stronger magnets can kill sustain. There's a theory there, and so EMGs it's not hard to figure out. You could take a piece of metal, like a little screwdriver, hold it over a regular pickup, like a Seymour Duncan 59, a JB, whatever, and then take an EMG and hold it over there, and notice how the magnetic field on the EMG is almost like you barely feel it, right? That's happening there, so it's that much weaker. And then because it is weak, because it is a weaker field, they boost it because otherwise the amp would get would get not the signal it needs, and then it would sound thin. And then because they boost it, a lot of metal players went to it. But essentially EMGs weren't really kind of thought to be the perfect pickup for metal players. You got to understand, like the perfect player for EMGs was supposed to be like the Grateful Dead, somebody who's running 100 feet of guitar cable and maybe want an active pickup to push that signal, or David Gilmour, someone who wants the pickup to let the note just hang for an hour with a lot of sustain. So, but because it is boosted, essentially, the metal players went to it. So pickups, EMGs, being no different than any other pickup, yeah, they can lose their magnetic strength over time. I saw Dylan Talks Tone talking about this one day, and he was saying that he did some tests. That was the video, so he has a test video, so watch it, about pickups losing their gauge, losing a little bit of the magnetic properties. And his test showed that basically, after a day or so, then it degrades. It doesn't really change very much. In my experience, same thing. It doesn't really change very much. You can screw them up. I mean, you can put other magnets around them and mess them up. So that's the problem with this, is that I don't know what you have your hands and ears on. So you could have some old EMGs that have been messed up by somebody. But in theory, which is probably what your concern is it possible that the older ones kind of weakened over time? Well, all pickups can weaken over time, so it's possible, and they're notoriously known for doing so a little bit. But I do agree with Dylan that it seems to happen in the shortest amount of time and then not much after that. It would be my experience with pickups as well. And that's why Fishman pickups, the technology is much different than EMG. And when it comes to the way they are made, but they both are active, so it's a totally different type of technology, but it's way more consistent. And in your case, could be your ears too. Like I said, getting two exact pickups to sound exactly the same is very, very hard. It's very hard. And then getting 500 pickups to sound exactly the same is extremely, extremely hard. Okay, which is what kind of Fishman's going after, is they can give you the consistency. That's what you gotta understand. Paul Reed Smith tuned TCI, tuned capacitance inductance, which I think is just really a marketing term for him, but it's a great marketing term. Essentially what he's saying is consistent. Well, first of all pickups have capacitance and inductance. So now you're saying tuned. So it's like saying a car tune-up, right? It's like finely tuned. Essentially, the marketing term tune capacitance inductance is they're finally tuning the capacitance inductance. In other words, they're finally, like I'm not like saying finally like it's over, but finally like precisely, making them the same. If the reason why you have to use a marketing term, the reason why I believe they're marketing that, one, they like marketing. Two, guitar players hate this concept of consistency. Every time I bring it up, you guys always bring Rhett Shull up. Rhett Shull is basically saying he hates how consistent PRSs are. Guitar players as a whole seem to hate the idea that things can be consistent. So getting two pickups to sound the same is very hard, and guitar players seem to hate the idea that they would be all the same. But it's very hard to get pickups to sound the same. I use this, and then we'll move on to the next thing. But this little analogy or this little story, I think, always hits home. Some people know that if you pull a multimeter on like a Seymour Duncan JB, you're going to get like 16K. I think that's what it's out, right? I'm doing off memory. You'd think I'd have that memorized, but I think it's 16K. For this sake of argument, if I'm wrong, it's 14K, because I'm thinking the Superstore is 14K and the JB's like 16K. But you understand. Let's say it's 16.4, okay? And the next one you get is 16.2. You're like, oh, it's not very, very, very different. I mean, it's not very different. 16.4, 16.2. It's not very different. Most likely could be inconsistency in the wire from each shipment over time. It could be just a couple more wraps of wire. Okay. But then you get another Seymour Duncan pickup, and it's 15.8. You're like, oh, well, 15.8 to 16.2 is not much, but 15.8 to 16.6, see what I'm saying? And then you get one that's 16.9, and then one that's 15.5. And notice, like, each time, if you take the most extreme, the one that has the variance the highest, the one the lowest, then if you A/B those two pickups, in my experience, which I've done, now they start sounding a little different than each other. a little different. And I only know this. I would like to say it was my the crazy brain, but it was a customer. A customer was driving me crazy. Well, I was a Seymour Duncan dealer. I was a guitar tech. He was buying his Seymour Duncans for me, having me install them, and then telling me that they're not right. And I would do this forever with him. And I just can't give up, right? It's like, I gotta make the customer happy. It's just like, and so this would go on for months. And what I figured out was that he just could tell the most extremes. He couldn't tell the subtle. So to him, what he's like, these three JBs are the same, which they weren't. I would test them and I go, oh, they're slightly variant. But he could tell the extremes when they were too low to when they were too high. I think what I remember, because this was like 2007 or 8, I think what I remember was he had a one pickup JB that he loved that was wound, or it was a little high. And then what happened was every time we were getting a JB that was a little low. And Seymour Duncan doesn't put on their production pickups those numbers. They only put them on the custom shop stuff. So every time we had to pull and test. So that's what basically I'm getting at, is that pickups are different. That's about it. I had an idea to do this cool video. I have a Delos, obviously a PM Delos here. And then I had Kiesel make me a Delos headless in my custom color with my wiring, and I was going to A/B them for a video. Here's what happened. The pickups are different. The pickups are the same model pickups, but there's a variance in them when I tested them, because I could hear it that the headless is louder. It's physically louder. The guitar, the pick through the amp, it's physically louder through the amp, and it's the pickups, and it's just because the pickups, there's variance in the pickups. So the only way to do a true test on those two guitars to hear a difference would be to use the exact same pickups and swap them back and forth. And it's just like a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So maybe I'll do it one day. It's one of those things like, I got an afternoon free. Let's pull pickups out and shove them into the guitar and see how much different the headstock makes the sound. So, Luke, I hope that helps with that. I have, in my experience, learned, 8185 AMGs, I love them, but I like older ones more than newer ones. But who knows, man? I don't know. Grumpy Mike guitar, man. See, I'm trying to prove that I'm dyslexic. I noticed the beautiful Reverb Rocket in your most recent Patreon post. Oh, yeah. Has that never been in a video or anything? I miss my old Rocket. Wish I never sold it. I have a funny story about that amp. I have a Reverb Rocket amp that's a 12 watt 112 Reverb Rocket, and and here's why it's funny. I'm laughing because it scared the hell out of me. So I got this amp. It's made in the USA. It's an older one. Made in the USA. It's got reverb, no tremolo. So some of them have tremolo, no reverb. Some of them have reverb, no tremolo. Mine has reverb. It's an amazing amplifier. Picked it up. I call that amp a rescue. I've talked about this before. I've rescued guitars and amps like you rescue animals, right? My wife just rescued a kitten. Same logic, right? I walked in the store and it had been sitting there for a while and the price was so cheap. I was like, what? It was like $250 or something crazy, right? So I was like, what? And then the next time I saw it, I go, how is this? What? There's no way, an American-made Ampeg guitar amp with a great reverb for $250. I have to buy this off the principle. And so I bought it, and here's where the story's funny. I bought it, I got it home and plugged into it, and it's great. And I thought, what would make this amp sound better is a better speaker, because it had this, cheap Ampeg speaker in it. So I pull the speaker, and of course you have to take the whole thing apart, the whole amp apart, right? Take the whole amp apart, not like just take the chassis out, like the whole thing is a big nightmare. I take it out, I get the speaker out. I go downstairs, I have a row of speakers on a shelf, I got a Vintage 30, I got a Creamback, I got, some cool speakers, I got Jensen's, and I have never done this before. It's one of those things, like I, to this day, don't know what possessed me to do this. But I'm holding the cheap speaker. Like the magnet on the speaker is like this big, okay? It's just junk, okay? And I'm like, I'm just holding this thing. And I'm looking at it, and I go to put it on the shelf with the speakers and get a new speaker put in it. And I go, I don't want to keep this junky speaker. And I throw it in the trash can, right? Okay. And then I grab a speaker, I go up to the shop, and I put the speaker on my bench to put in the amp, and I think, oh, this thing's gonna be a pain in the ass to put together. I'll do it tomorrow. Next day, I get up, I go to put the speaker in, I put the speaker in, I mount it in the cabinet, I go to put the chassis in, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. And I'm like, what's going on? And it's because Ampeg designed that amp to where the only way the chassis can fit with the tubes and the transformer is if the speaker magnet is really tiny. So I'm like, it doesn't fit. I'm like, oh man. So I go downstairs, and of course all my speakers are nice with these big magnets. And I go, oh, I gotta get that crappy one and put it back. My son took out the trash. It's like the one time he ever took out the trash. No, I'm just kidding. He takes out the trash like he's supposed to all the time. And it's gone. They pick it up in the morning, it was gone. The speaker's gone. And now I'm like, I don't have a speaker for this amp. What am I gonna do? I was so like distraught. And then I go on, Reverb, and I'm looking to see if anyone has a cheap Ampeg crappy speaker, and they don't. And then luckily it hit me. I go, I wonder if a neodymium, like light speaker will work. I go on Sweetwater, neodymium creamback, which has a small a magnet because it's a neodymium. I get the creamback neo speaker in it, and I order it, and I put it in the amp. And so now I'm laughing so the reason why I tell you this is probably why it never ended up in a video and getting reviewed, because it's an amp that you can't get because it's that amp, but then it has the speaker in it. And the speaker costs more than the $250. The amp ended up costing me $500 for the amp. And all because, and you know what's funny is, I don't think it sounds any better. I think it sounds great. I love it. But I would love to tell you like, oh, the new speaker just sounds so good. It sounds about the same. Maybe, I don't know, a little better, but it sounds about the same. So don't throw stuff away. I usually don't. I swear, please don't tell me in the comments like, Phil, that's why you don't throw stuff away. Yeah, I get it. That would be my go-to not to do that. I just was in a mood like, So it was in the background of a video on the Patreon channel, I'm sure. But I don't think I've ever used it in a video. Maybe I should. I love it. It's a great amp. That picture that you saw, Mike, is like the private room. Like it's a strip joint. Guys want to go to the private Know Your Gear room? It's in the back. But yeah, I have an area where it's kind of like you don't see it in videos, but there's nothing special about it, apparently, other than it has a reverb rocket in it. So, Music Therapy Laz, what's up? He says, I got a funny Music Therapy Laz story for you, buddy. Like a funny one. He says, it's my birthday tomorrow, and I'm spreading the love. Happy birthday, Music Therapy Laz. I have a birthday gift for you, my friend. I had what could only be the weirdest YouTube experience I've ever had, and probably ever will have ever again. As you guys know, for a while we were trading shirts, right? We would trade you send a shirt, we trade Know Your Gear shirt. We stopped that because this involves my wife getting shirts out to you guys. And I had a couple people get ornery with the whole, like, you didn't send us our shirts on time. I'm like, look, I misspoke. Humility is, I think, one of the most important characteristics of a personality you should ever have. Okay, so I try to keep it, and what's lucky for me is life keeps me pretty humble on its own, so I don't have to worry about things. But every once in a while, I have to practice it. In other words, most time humility is very easy because life's just reminding me by punching me in the face. But what happened when I was doing those shirt things is, look, I know that if I wear your shirt on my show that gets 30,000 views, and you wear my shirt on your show that gets, less views, the whole point was to promote you and not be like, you're going to get your shirt on my show. I was, right? I could have just said, send me shirts and I'll wear them on my show and you'll get promoted and I don't have to send you anything. But I was trying to send people because again, I was trying to be kind. So anyways, I had a couple people get grumpy about it. And so it kind of like, I don't need people out there being pissed at me when really they got the important part, which is their shirt was on my show. Okay. So I tell you that just because that's why it stopped. I just want you to know why it stopped. I'm not saying we'll never do it again. I'm just saying it needs to be like for periods of time. So Shauna is on getting our shirts out to you guys so that no one feels taken advantage of. Does that have anything to do with Music Therapy Labs? No. But one of the channels that took advantage of that was a small channel. Like no one knows these guys. They're called 60 Cycle Hum. Like they're just trying to get out there. Like just a little bit. Like I think they have like 4 viewers. I think 2 of them is like their moms and their wives. So anyways, 60 Cycle Hum sent me a shirt. For the record, I don't even know if we ever sent them a shirt. I hope we did. But anyway, so here's the important part. 60 Cycle Hum sent me a shirt. I wore it on the show. Well, of course, now I have their shirt. Just like all the shirts you guys send me, I wear them. That's what I wear. I don't wear Know Your Gear shirts out in public. These are on videos. That's it for me. I wear video. Oh, no, that's not true. I'll wear them sometimes to like events and stuff. So anyway, so 60 Cycle Hum sent me a 60 Cycle Hum shirt. I happened to be wearing it in public, and a guy stopped me, and this is what he said. He looked at me, he went, and I could tell, like all YouTubers, we talk secretly when we talk, that we can kind of tell when somebody's off to our side. They're always in your side, your, what do you call that, peripheral vision? You can kind of see it to the side. I hope I'm saying that right. Like you can just tell, like they notice you and you're just waiting for them to say something so you don't be like, yes, I am that guy you think I am, right? You don't want to be a douche. So anyways, this guy's looking at me. I'm like, okay, he's going to say something to me. That's usually how it works. Like, oh, you know your gear, right? And he looks at me, he goes, I know you. And I go, oh, you know me? And he looks at my shirt and it's like his brain is broken. Right? I'm not, by the way, if you're watching this, which I doubt he will, which you'll know why in a second, I'm not trying to make fun of you, okay? The whole situation was odd for both of us. He's looking at me, he's looking at the shirt, he's looking at me, he's got this very perplexed look on his face, like, what the hell? He looks at me one more time and he goes, I know who you are. And I go, who? And he goes, Music Therapy Laz. And I go, yeah. So apparently, if Phil McKnight wears a 60 Cycle Hum shirt, I'm Music Therapy Laz. So happy birthday, Music Therapy Laz. I hope that made you laugh. It made me laugh. And I'd like to point out, this is why I'm apologizing to that person, which I assume doesn't watch my show. Because I'm not making fun of you, but I also didn't correct you. So if you are watching this, yes, I am not Music Therapy Laz. But yes, when you said that, I went, yeah. And then I think we didn't high five, but we were like, yeah, cool. And I just went on with the charade and he left. So there you go. But for the record, I'm not Music Therapy Laz. Okay. Thank you. Happy birthday, Music Therapy Laz. Thank you for not only for super chatting, because I've been wanting to tell that story. I just told it to Landon Bailey like a week or two ago. I was telling him that story because, funny enough, Landon Bailey asked me if we could talk real quick, and he did the thing where you talk with pictures, right? Because he's young and he thinks that's how you should call somebody who's with a video chat. So, and I was wearing a 60 Cycle Hum shirt. And he goes, oh, you're wearing a 60 Cycle Hum shirt? And I go, yeah. And then I told him the story. Okay, so obviously I wear that shirt quite often. We got Tim. Tim says, thanks for answering my question about replacing the tuner knob washers on my Alvarez Dana. The knobs were harder to pull off than I thought. Cool, but it got done. That's the important part. I hope it got done. Speaking of which, that's a great time to segue into what? What do we segue into? Let me get into the screen that helps. We're going to segue into...
Now it's time for Guitar of the Week.
Guitar of the Week. What? It's Guitar of the Week. Somebody who's really good at math, presented the problem of Guitar of the Week to me last week, by the way. I was really proud of myself. I go, I'm trying to keep this personal, not so much like promoting product to you guys, right? The bills are paid on the show by the patrons, so I don't have to like get a company and be like, send me a guitar for Guitar of the Week. And then somebody goes, yeah, so you have 52 guitars, right? Because that's how many episodes you do a year. And I'm like, yeah, that's going to get tough, but we'll keep going. We'll keep going as long as we have guitars to show. And then when we don't, maybe we'll skip, or maybe I will have to get a company to send something out. But you know what? I'll try if we do a company sponsored video or something. we'll attach it to a giveaway. Okay, we'll try to keep it that way. That'll be fun. I think you guys would probably like that better. Instead of me going, look at what I got, I can be like, look what you can get. So that'd be better. I just realized I don't have a guitar pick, so I'm going to start Guitar of the Week without a guitar pick. This has been one downfall of having 2 rooms, is that picks migrate from room to room, and they mostly migrate out of this room. But there's one on the floor. Picks are always in your dryer or on the floor. Okay, so what's the Guitar of the Week? This one's one I've never done a video. So I try to only do Guitars of the Week of guitars I've never done an official review of. And it has a story, so we can tell a story. So this one is this beautiful Washburn USA Nuno Betancourt N4 that would make Nuno Betancourt vomit if he saw it. Anyways, this is a green swirl Nuno Betancourt, signed by Nuno Betancourt, but not when it was a green swirl, because he would vomit if he saw it. Okay, so some of you guys know the story. I'll tell the story anyways for those to keep everybody up. This is my Nuno Betancourt. I don't know what year it is. I don't know how to, well, maybe I can read the serial number and figure out the year. Pretty sure, okay, it is absolutely a 2007 or 2009. So that is for sure. I just don't know which one, because here's the thing. I don't remember the pattern of serial numbers on these guitars. I just know it's got the number 20 in it, 9 and a 7, not in that order, but so it's I'm thinking it's a 2009, but it could be 2007. Okay. So the Nuno Betancourt N4, which is not this specific one, but that guitar in general, was my first real guitar. Like, I know my Ibanez RG770 when I graduated high school was a real guitar. But I mean, for me, like when I got out of high school and went into the real world, I eventually got a job, had some kids, and then one day decided to buy myself an expensive guitar. You know, that moment where you're like, I'm going to buy myself an expensive guitar. And the guitar I've been dreaming of my whole life was a Nuno Betancourt N4. My friend in high school had the N2, right? Which I was just always in love with that guitar. So I bought an N4, and it was natural and ash, and I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with it so much that over time I bought another one, and another one, and another one. And at one point I had a lot. I don't know the exact number. I feel like if I said 9 of them, that's too many, but I feel like if I said I had 5, that's not enough of them. I started having enough, a lot of them. So I had an N2 and then mostly on 4s. And I would get the Paduke, and then I would get like the Ash, and then the Alder, and then I got one that was called the Rap, and we've talked about that. Rap meaning R-A-P, rap like rap music, standing for Randall Amplifier Project, and it was a graphic that had the Nuno Betancourt tattoo, which is it looks like a 3, and it had the grid and stuff of the Randall amplifiers. This was that guitar, okay? It came signed by Nuno. This was actually in the office of the president of Washburn. When the company started doing really bad, they threw it on eBay, I think, and said, hey, we're selling off the stuff in the office, and I bought it. I believe I paid $1,500-ish for it around that time. And I absolutely love it. It has a different neck than any of the N4s I've ever owned. In fact, that's what ended up happening. I got rid of every N4 I have. This neck is super thin and flat. Most of the N4s are C-shaped and a little thicker. This is definitely reminds me of old school Charvels. Like, this neck is my favorite Nuno neck. It has an ebony fretboard. It has 22 frets. And of course, it's bolted from the Stevens cutaway bolt. See the bolt on the side? So you talk about the handshake. It's pretty awesome. So here's the story with this guitar. I loved it. I installed this on the back of the headstock. This is the Allen wrench holder. This is before you could get the cool magnetic ones. Has Grover, mini Grover tuning keys. This is an Alder body. And like I said, it was wrapped with this cool graphic. And then what happened was one day the graphic started lifting off the back, and I noticed it here first. And I went to touch it and it cracked and then started flaking off. And pieces of the paint or the wrap just started coming off the guitar. And I was like, oh man, that sucks. I was depressed. I was like, I got to sand it down. And so I sanded it down, and I never thought it looked good because I'm sure one of the things I remember is like had a block here and a block there. It didn't look aligned. It didn't look great. And so whatever year they reissued the Steve I Universes in the swirl, I don't remember what year that was, I was at the NAMM show, and I go, I'm going to buy one. As you guys know, dream guitar for me. I called the Ibanez my Ibanez rep, the night before the NAMM show, and said, I want that guitar for this. I want that guitar. And he said, they're already sold out. All the premium dealers got them before we even offered them to the smaller dealers. And so I couldn't get a swirl. So driving home from the NAMM show, it's about a 7-hour drive, 6.5-hour drive. I was thinking about that, and I go, maybe I should get my Nuno swirled. So I called a friend and said, hey, do you know how to, he's a painter, and I go, do you know how to swirl? And he goes, no. And I go, there's a video on YouTube, watch it. So he watched the video, and he goes, okay, what do you want? And I go, I just want 3 colors. So this is, the base is like a neon green that looks like, I don't know, avocado green, but it's neon. And then the swirl is done in black and emerald. It's metallic. So this is one of the guitars, like that's why it's kind of cool to tell a story like this. As much as you've seen it in the videos, you guys have no idea until you see it in person how really cool it looks up front. This is not dark green, light green, and black. This is black, and maybe the center between the pickup shows really well. You can see it's metallic. It's a metallic emerald. It's amazing. And so he did that. And then I already removed the original pickups. I'm not a fan of the Bill Lawrence pickup. I like the 59, but not the Bill Lawrence. So I swapped it with some pickups, and over the years, just trying to find the right pickups. And then I finally found a set that I liked. And I know you're thinking I put green pickups in it because it's green. It's not, because I bought this one used. I got this as a tone zone, and it happened to be green. And so I bought it used. And funny enough, I got it after I bought it. I got it for $20. Somebody had drilled through the thing, so I had to direct mount it. So this one, that's why there's no screws. There's no screws because this pickup is actually mounted directly in the body, and then this pickup frame is a facade just for the looks. And then this is a 59. So I put a tone zone and 59 in it. 1 volume knob, nothing fancy, right? And of course, locking straps, and I threw purple on it because I don't know why, and then I put a purple knob just because I had a purple knob. There was no real thought put in this guitar. I kind of started leaning into it a little bit more because I got a lot of people. My buddy thought it would be funny to take a picture of it one day, and he put it on the Nuno Bittencourt forum, and everybody lost their mind with how ugly it was. You can imagine people who like Nuno and his guitars don't really understand this. And so I started telling people, I go, it's an homage to Nuno Bittencourt and Steve Vai. That's what I tell people. Okay, so let's just play it for a second, right, just to get that out of the way. What am I playing through? I'm playing through the new Laney Ironheart amp pedal. It's a 60-watt amp pedal. I'm running it clean. And then I have some pedals, but I'll switch over. Let me move my chair if you don't mind. Okay, and let's try and not mess this up. That's the key. Let's switch to the camera view. Here we are. We're over here now. This is it. You can hear me good. I'm going to start with the clean on this amp. This is the pedal amp, and I'm running the reverb off the pedal amp as well. Funny, I like the middle position the most on this for clean, and it I didn't say before, but I'm gonna say now. This has a tremolo that says Washburn on it, but it's a German-made Schaller Floyd. Here we go. Now, if you notice when I'm playing it, maybe I'm a little nervous, I don't know. The tremolo is very sensitive. So, here, let's lock it up. There we go. So that's why when I'm playing it, it's really sensitive. In fact, I forget, because I haven't played it in a while, how sensitive it is. So, let's go ahead and let's go and switch to the overdrive. So for the overdrive, hold on, switch here, let's go here. To me, for the overdrive, I'm going to use the Lawrence Petros 87 and some delay. And again, I'm still running through the Laney. Oops. And funny enough, I saw he's got a pink ones on sale, guitar. So if you're interested in a pink LPD 7, you can check them out. little shout out to him for Father's Day, pink one. I actually think that's cool. I wish the 87 was black still. I've never really been a fan of the color of the green, but the pink looks cool. So for those, I'm only saying that because maybe there's somebody out there like me who's not interested in the surf green on a metal pedal is weird to me, but pink would be great. Okay. All right, here's the distortion. 87 and some delay. I'm thinking, how far can I go before the bots detect the song and give me copyright strike? So let's go back. We'll play a little bit more and then we're done. Here we go. And of course the neck. All right, that is my Nuno Bincourt N4 with green swirl. Let me turn off this hissing. Lots of distortion comes with lots of hissing. And then, of course, this is where I always go, any questions? And then you guys never seem to have any questions. And then we move on. I noticed that when I timestamp the shows, I'm like, oh, cool, that was the guitar. What do you guys have to say? And it's usually nothing. So there you go. Weight-wise, this one is about 7 pounds, maybe 7 pounds, 2 ounces. And it's a maple neck. This is a scarf joint and has a Buzz Feeding system in it and is made in the USA. I don't have the original case or anything anymore for it. I would never sell it. Sadly enough, I'd probably have to take a hit on it because somebody out there, it'd probably be worth more if I sanded it back down to the wood, but I'd never do that. I'd never get rid of this guitar. Absolutely love it, like I said. And I'll never get another one because the necks now are great. They're just different shape than that one. So, let's see. Let's see. Okay. Oh, headstock angle, question mark. Yes, this has that's why it has a scarf joint. So it's a 13-degree angle, which is really cool. Doesn't really need it. Once you clamp down the strings, the angle probably isn't very important. Extremely important, I shouldn't say. Extreme, haha, important. But yeah, this does have the 13-degree angle. Okay. All right. Pretty cool. All right. Somebody said, is BEM69 perfect? You said, thanks for sharing. You're welcome, buddy. It was fun. I think it's a cool little fun thing to talk about. And a great guitar and a kind of funny story. Like I said, that's kind of, is that making, taking lemons and making lemonade? Like I said, that it really broke my heart when that paint started chipping off. I was like, I mean, I love that guitar so much. I still love it, right? But I mean, I prefer the original paint job, by the way. So, you know, if I could have had a choice, I would have kept the original paint job. There's no way I would have ever, as much as I like that swirl and it's unique, I think the original paint job looked better and much cooler. So we shared that once before on the show. It's just black and gold with it looks like the Randall Amplifier Project amps. So, all right, let's go on to some subjects and discuss, I don't know, something else. Okay. All right. Somebody sent me some comments. Okay, looking at this one. Okay, I'm sorry. Some of these questions, I know you guys are going for the joke. Sometimes the questions, the question was about like, but it's a food question, like beer versus Philly cheesesteaks and stuff. I got this question, and this was one of those questions that got sent to me. And it's like, hey, the question was, and I got it from 5 different people. So it's in a folder. It was a big deal. So I figured a good time to talk about it since we're in a lull right now. The question was, why did I sell my Badlands Prototype? So I sold the Badlands Redline Prototype. And the actual thing to probably state is, it's not that I sold the Prototype. I sold all my prototypes. I don't have any Badlands. I don't own a Badlands guitar currently. The way that happened was, originally I had 2 Badlands Redline prototypes. Some of you guys probably remember this. I had a hardtail and I had a tremolo, and I preferred the hardtail. Right? Because I have an N4 with a tremolo, right? Like I said, they were both great guitars. I actually think maybe the one with the tremolo played a little better. And yeah, it played a little better and maybe sounded a little bit better. I don't remember too much being different, but I liked it, but I preferred the hardtail because it was different. So what ended up happening was, a customer, when we sold the original run of Redlines, had a defective one and sent it back, and it was fixed, and basically issues going back forth. I offered him my prototype hardtail in exchange for his production guitar. He took the deal because he's a smart man, and that was a good deal because now he has a prototype instead of a production one, which is a very cool, unique thing to have, right? Remember, there's only 50 in existence of the real ones, but there's only 4 prototypes in existence, total of all. So 54 Redlines exist in all existence, period. 4 prototypes, 50 produced guitars. So I then had a production one. So I sold the production one because I didn't need a production one. I had a prototype of, because both now are tremolos. Okay, so I just want to get everybody to speed what happened. So as you guys know, when I decided to back away and leave the Badlands business model, the Badlands thing, I had, at that time, I had left, because I remember I already got rid of a prototype for production. I had 4 prototypes left. And so one of which, the only one, I did not pay for. I bought all my prototypes. I bought all the guitars. One prototype was provided to me by Badlands, which is a guitar that, it's one of the ones, if you guys saw the solid production colors, it's a solid production one. When I left, they asked for that guitar back. So I sent that guitar back to them, or was sent back to them. So then I was down to 3 prototypes. In my, because I wanted to make sure that everyone who bought a hollow flash was taken care of, I did not take any profits at all from the hollow flash run, okay? So I did not receive any money for that run. Not a single penny in any way, shape, form, in any way. Obviously, the only thing I probably was compensated with in any way would be that free, I don't want to call it free, but that one prototype, but that was sent back. Because even though I didn't take any money, I'm still responsible for half, because even though there's 4 partners in Badlands, I was the only legal partner besides one other entity. So because legally the government only sees Badlands, even though Badlands is really 4 partners at that time, it legally only saw by the government as 2 people. So if you guys know, I don't want to get into the tax part of it because I have an accountant for that. I was responsible for half of Badlands taxes, even though I didn't receive any money. Okay, so again, we're not going to go down an accounting thing. The term is called phantom income. If you need to know more, you just Google phantom income if you want to scare the shit out of yourself for knowing how the government can basically make you pay taxes on money you've never received. But that's essentially what phantom income is it's I have to pay for half of the profits that Badlands made, even though I didn't take any money, because I wanted to make sure that they had money to take care of anyone. So if you have a hollow flash and you have any issues, which I've been dealing with many of you, and I've taken care of some of you out of pocket, and some of you guys have just helped you along in the background. If you have any issues, you contact them. They have the funds to take care of you, because like I said, not only did I not take any funds, I had to pay, and because of my accountant and my wife being amazing, they were able to get some of those tax burden down. At one point, I think I was going to pay $20,000 out of pocket of taxes to the IRS. I mean, keep in mind, I swear to stack of Bibles. I've taken $0 from Badlands ever, but I was responsible to give the IRS $20,000. I was able to get that down to almost 10. So I paid that. My wife, who's amazing, I felt that instead of pulling from savings and paying the tax burden, I sold the 3 prototypes. That's why I sold them. So I sold them. So the question is, like, I think that you guys are looking at it like I'm angry and I don't want a Badlands guitar and screw Badlands and I got rid of them. That's not what happened. I just didn't want. It was a lot easier to look at my wife at the dinner table and say, I'm going to sell the 3 guitars I bought a couple years ago, and that's going to cover the tax burden. It covered most of it. And, so don't, because I know, you guys have wives, don't not plan a vacation this year or not do something this year, because you're like thinking we got to. So that's what ended up happening with that. So the important part to me is, of course, that everybody is taken care of. Does it make sense? And in the grand scheme of things, I have a lot of guitars. There is no feel sorry. Phil, hey, feel sorry. You can't feel sorry for me. Look at these guitars on my wall. So there you go. That's the answer to that. So that was the question. Why did I sell the prototype? That's why I sold the 3 prototypes, and that's how why I did it that way. Okay, and the takeaway, kids, is I guess the IRS sucks, but hey, everybody's got to pay their bills, right? That's how it works. What Bill Burr says, and he's not that great of a guy, but he pays his bills on time. He's a good guy. Give him a bill, that guy will pay it. So there you go. And I feel like we got to jump into something cooler and funner now that we've taken down that road. And if you do have a hollow flash and you are not in love or you have any issues, please feel free to reach out to me. Anyone who has issues, like I said, I'm not with Badlands anymore, but I still I want to make sure you're taken care of, and I'm trying to facilitate that and I believe they're trying to facilitate that as well. So I think they're trying to take care of you as much as possible, and I think they are. So that's the answer to all of that. Okay, let's jump to Troy. Troy West says, Phil, any opinions on the Ibanez BTB 6 string with Aguilar pickups? The BTB is one of the coolest looking Ibanez basses that I've always thought is one of the best looking Ibanez basses they ever did. It definitely has I'm going to pull it up because it's one of those, like, hold on, I'm moving the microphone and doing this stuff. Sorry. I know you're guitar players mostly, and you're like, I can't believe it. But the BTB is a great bass. And the BTB 6 should be a 6-string. Yeah, let's pull up the Sweetwater thing. And here it is on the web. This is the BTB 6. 746, but essentially this is what he's talking about. If he's talking about this exact color and all that stuff, I don't know. I always love this. Some of you guys are like, probably like, ugh. Some of you guys are like, it's great. I'm not a huge fan of this locking jack right here. I find I don't like to mess with the locking jacks. I think they literally have issues with working with every kind of guitar cable. So like barrel jacks, I like just standard output jacks on guitars. I find that sometimes the plastic and rubber on guitar cables and the different form factor guitar cables can be problematic with certain kinds of jacks. So you have to use a special jack. For those that probably don't know what I'm talking about, let me go back to it. This is what this is. This is the Neutrik locking jack. The first time I ever had one of these was on a Conklin bass. I had a custom Conklin bass, which is what I think Ibanez is going for here, is that Tobias Conklin high-end, sense of bass, right? It's a beautiful instrument. Look at that, neck through, fantastic. $1,000, made in Indonesia, I believe, right? I believe it's still made in Indonesia. Yep, made in Indonesia, which means it probably made made in the Ibanez factory. So some of you guys are gonna be like, it's Cortec. I'm pretty sure for Indonesia, Ibanez had built their own factory and does their own stuff. And those employees were trained mostly by the Japanese facility that was building for Ibanez. It still is, but fantastic instrument. Is that what you want to know? What do I think of it? I think it's a fantastic instrument. I think it's one of those that punches above its weight. It's $1,000 and it looks and plays like a $6,000 bass. Very cool. It's what I, those basses are what I love about Ibanez. What I buy that is, one thing I loved about Ibanez is the an innovation thing, doing something new and cool, giving somebody something expensive that doesn't have to be expensive. It's one of those things like, I wish they would do more of that with their guitars again. You know, I feel like a lot of the guitars are just regurgitating the old ideas and or copying something and just not making it better. I think that bass is like a true, like, man, this will hold up against, you know, your $6,000 competitors. And it looks cool and plays cool. Brian says, Phil just said you should buy it. Well, we already, yeah, I guess that was a very long way to say it. Just buy it. Tell us how it went. That's kind of fun. Brian, that's it. You're taking over the show. You know what it is? I need a translator. Brian, you could be the translator. I'll say a bunch of stuff to you and you just go, Phil said yes. Phil says no. Phil said maybe. All right, let's Mr. G says, I see you went with the new PRS tuners for your hollow body. I did. You could see that? That's pretty cool. Do you like them? I absolutely love them. I love the tune. Let me go grab it. You guys, last time I grabbed the guitar off the wall, everybody's like, are you barefoot? Yeah, I'm barefoot. It's like, I don't want to wear my shoes on this show. So what happened was, this is a 2022 PRS hollow body 2 that I bought during the pandemic, obviously in 2022, and it was made in July of 2022, I believe. And PRS sent me the new tuning buttons that you can buy now aftermarket. They only fit, this is where I think this sucks, they only fit on the core PRS tuner keys. So I was actually like, oh, I'll put them on the S2s. They don't fit on the S2 tuning keys. And I put a picture on Instagram where I put half the original, half the buttons. 90% of the people, or 80%, picked the plastic buttons, which shocked me. Shocked, I think, the people at PRS too. They were like, what? And I think that looks classy. On a hollow body, it's kind of like, and what's funny is, I wouldn't do it to all my PRSs, but like this, I think this looks, I think it makes it go classy, if that makes any sense. They're supposed to be lighter. I'm gonna put this here. They're supposed to be lighter than the aluminum ones, but when I pulled them off, I mean, if you could notice how much lighter they are than the aluminum ones when you put on the headstock, you were really sensitive because it was barely. But yeah, I went with those. I just thought it looked good. And what's funny was in the video, I first video of the cores where I did the tuning keys, I was very pragmatic about it. I was like, it's not my thing, but it's cool. That's kind of my way of being polite. But it just they grew on me over time. And so I put them on there. By the way, they sent me the black ones too, but I just didn't find anything the black ones look good on, so I haven't put them on anything. So if anyone wants a set of black ones, I can send them out to you, I guess. Right? Should be able to fit in an envelope and not cost more than, I have no idea what a stamp costs now. Whatever a stamp costs. If I get off the show and my wife tells me the stamp is $13, I'm gonna cry. I would imagine a stamp's $1 now, 70. I don't know. Okay, but Mr. G, cool. Yes, I did. I put them on there, and I do love it, and they're staying on there. And no, it does not make the guitar have more mid-range. Who am I to argue with Paul Reed Smith? But I'm not arguing tone plastic tuning keys. I'm just not. It's just not something I can get my head around. Jay Marble said, hey, no question, just really like the show. Oh, thank you, Jay Marble. Let's find a regular question then. It's like buying somebody a drink. You just bought somebody, their super chat just bought somebody a question. So I'm looking real quick, and like I said, for anyone who put a question mark first to get my attention. Okay, hold on a second. By the way, so you guys know, because I timestamp all this stuff and I go through all this stuff, I get to see most of your comments. So a lot of times I see comments where you guys just really want to send me something, you're telling me something. I get to read a lot of those, so you know. They don't go unseen. Sometimes, though, I am directly ignoring a question not because it's awkward or inappropriate or anything like that. It's just I have no answer for you, and it has no bearing for anyone else. So, like, don't take it personal is what I'm trying to say. So, I don't think I have a question. Oh, Prague Pogs. Ooh, say that twice as fast. Says, just trying to get one last time. Yeah, I get it. Okay. He says, thoughts on the new G&L Rampage 24 release. I was excited about that. I liked it when they post that. So you guys know they're re-releasing, I guess. Is that what this is? They're re-releasing the Rampage? I didn't know the Rampage 24 had stopped. Or is it that it's 24 frets now? I'm not really sure what's unique or different about it. I just saw that they were bringing it back. But I mean, I'm excited about it. Look, I could say that almost about any guitar. Oh, I'm excited. They're coming out with a new Les Paul and Cherry Red, you said. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about guitars. I mean, excited. But G&L, I want G&L to do well, so I like that they're coming out with new stuff. I like companies coming out with new stuff. Like I said, it's pretty cool. And the Rampage is a great guitar. I'm a huge Jerry Cantrell fan, obviously Alice in Chains fan, so that guitar is really kind of connected to that for me. So I really like it. Hall was right. Hal was right. Says, okay, so what's the story with the Badlands? What happened with the relationship? We know you were consulting, but I feel there's more to the story. You know, everybody thinks there's more to the story. Here's the more to the story. I have been, like I said, self-employed in business for 20 years. I don't know if I'm successful at it. I'm as successful as I've ever wanted to be at something. I hope that makes sense. It's like, for lack of a better term, let's say I was in upper management at a corporation, but not the CEO. And you said, oh, it's sad you're not CEO. And I go, I never wanted to be CEO. I just wanted to be upper management, and I have been. So what I'm trying to tell you is whatever you find success is, that's fine for you. But what I view success is, I've been as successful as I've ever wanted to be for quite a long time. A long time. Successful when it comes to how my family is, successful when it comes to, like, you know, my status in the world, I guess, financially, my status emotionally, what all this stuff. So why am I saying that? I'm saying that because there's things that when you're in that mindset, I'm not willing to do. So if a company reaches out to me and says, hey, Phil, I have an idea, I'd like to run it by you, and I have a suggestion for them that says, hey, here's a way that because I told you guys, almost all of my advice is from experience, which is not because I'm smart. It's because I'm experienced. It sounds like a brag. It's not. It's the worst kind of information to have for you. For me, having experience sucks because it means like putting your hand in an alligator's mouth teaches you not to do that. The person who tells you, hey, don't do that because they don't have a hand anymore, they're not bragging. they're just trying to have. So with Badlands is going to go through a lot of experiences, and I don't want to go through them with them because I told them everything that's happened with Badlands. This is the easiest way to put this for the guys at Badlands, in case I doubt they'd be watching this, but if they do too, same thing, they'll hear this too. Every single thing that's happening to you right now, I told you guys was going to happen. I told you that it would be a full year before the hollow flashes were out. I predicted every single thing that's happened, good and bad, not because I'm smart, because I've done this exact thing before. And I told them the same thing I'm telling you guys. I'm just not in it for the ride anymore. I can't go through things because they want to go through them. So that's all it is. It's not a anger thing. It's not a bad thing. There's no dark, seedy story to tell. Like I told you guys, I will make sure and do everything to help you, just like they're doing, to make sure your hollow flash experience is great. After that, every experience after that, I'm not connected to. So unfortunately, I'm sure it will be fantastic, but I'm not going to go through it with them. The builder of these guitars, I said wouldn't have these guitars out until at least August of this year. It is now June, basically the middle of June. There's July and August, month and a half. They have to still get half the guitars basically out. And this is exactly what I said was going to happen. And there's some more to the story, but it's not really important. It's not like a thing. I did some things that I think was going to help the situation better. I did some things that can help them going forward in the future. That we didn't go down those roads. We went down these roads. And it is hard to sit in meetings and listen to the thing you just told everybody was going to happen 6 months ago happen. So that's why. So I've helped them as much as I can help them. I think they're smart guys. I think they have a great, I told you, I love the business model. I wouldn't have helped if I didn't think it was a great business model. I think it's a great idea. And that's all. That's it. And it ended up in a positive experience. Here's what happened. I figured since I was spending so much time doing that, I reached out to a couple companies that I thought can help, and I've helped them absolutely tremendously to the point where they've anything, I never wanted anything from the Badlands people, right? Money-wise, I wasn't really looking for that angle, but the companies I've helped since, it's been very lucrative for me because they're doing really great. And they've sold me a lot of compensation and kindness. So, like I said, everything works for a great reason. I think, like I said, the core, I said this before, I wasn't involved in the design of the guitars at Badlands. So that stuff they executed perfectly. All the things I think they could have, like QA and all that stuff, I think I could have helped a lot with that. But I think they got a road they got to go down on their own. Okay. So there, I only tell you guys that. I hate talking about this because first of all, I don't think it's important. But more importantly, I think it's because you guys want to hear a seedy story, like the gossip columns. Oh, it's not a gossip thing. I'm not wired that way. I'm not wired for the emotional side so much as I just want everybody to do well. And if I can help, I like being part of that. It's kind of like I told you guys this funny story, and then we'll jump again. I was once walking in the NAMM with Nathan, and a guitar company was there building their booth. It was the first day. And I was like, that's weird that they're building the booth at the end of the first day. And they said no one showed up to help them. And me and Nathan helped. It was Tosin Abasi, so we helped set up Tosin Abasi's booth. And Tosin the next day was like, I can't believe you guys just came and started helping us build our booth. And I didn't say anything. I just said, well, you're welcome. But I'm telling you guys so you guys understand. I just liked, we went to dinner. Me and Nathan had dinner. And I told Nathan and the story. I just like feeling like I helped. That's it. Isn't that the best feeling ever? It is the best feeling ever. Ask someone who's lonely how much they would like to be part of helping somebody. It's one of the best feelings you can have in your life. Grungy Chris says it sounds like the Badlands model is going to fail. It's not going to fail. It's not a financial failure thing. It's going to be long and hard, and which is what we all predicted. But I think it's going to be a little longer and harder than I think it should have to be. But no, I don't think they're going to fail. If I thought they were going to fail, I would have told you all to get your money back and jump out of the hollow flashes. I told no one to not buy a hollow flash because I think it's a great guitar and I don't think you're ever going to get one like it again. Just like if you're Redline, you're never going to get one like it again. Try to find something like it. There's nothing out there like it. That's why I back those guys. Disco says my hollow flash is great. The guys, look, everybody who has these guitars will tell you they're fantastic. There's people out there will tell you that had problems, but those problems were resolved. There's very few people that are going to, I don't know a single person out there that's had a disgruntled story with the product or the company. So, like I said, nothing there. But, I don't know. Let's go back. Let's go to something else. What else we got to talk about? we have, I'm missing one. This is from Francisco. Francisco says, my man, question for you. Last year, I bought a Sunn amp, Sunn with two N's. Was a brand that went away. Fender owns them, and I think Fender brought them back or is trying to bring them back on pre-sale. They are supposed to, he's telling the story that I was already getting to. Okay, so he bought a Sunn amp that's on pre-sale, and they're supposed to have shipped them in February 2024. Still nothing. Do you know anything about that? Any insight? Love the show, as always. I don't know much about it. I don't know where they're making them. I mean, Fender owns the company. So at least they did. That's a great question. Let's talk about what I don't know and then go from there. Sunn amps was purchased by Fender. I believe it was an attachment to another brand they bought. Maybe DeArmond. So maybe when they bought DeArmond, it was DeArmond, Guild, and Sunn. That sounds about right. That sounds like that makes sense. So Fender acquires those companies. They slowly start messing with stuff. For a while, Fender did produce Sunn amps. One of my favorite bass players of all time, who was my bass teacher for a short time, Ray Riendo, excuse me, was endorsed by Sunn amps, and he was playing Sunn amps for a while. and plays jazz. He was playing Jazz Deluxe Fender basses through Sunn amps, and then they shelved the brand. So what I don't know is Fender bringing it back, or did they sell off the brand and somebody else is bringing it back? My guess is that Fender owns it. Here's why. It's why Fender owns SWR, which is Stephen W. Raby's company. If you don't know, SWR amps is like one of the best bass amps in the world, up there with Ampeg, is in my opinion for quality. But Fender shelved the brand because they decided there was no money in it for them. And Fender doesn't, you understand, when big companies like Fender, who's one of the biggest bass amp and guitar amp companies in the world, they don't sell off brands like that, because then if they sell them off, those people will buy them and compete against them. So sometimes they go, yeah, we could get money for this brand, but how much money are we going to lose in sales competing with it for the next 20 years? So a lot of times, and you know what, that's not a Fender thing. That's just companies in general. Sometimes companies buy brands and they shelve them. And that's what happens. So I would assume Fender owns Sunn and they're bringing them back. What I don't know is it on a slow boat from China coming, or is they making them in the Mexico facility in Ensenada? So also, my guess is if they were supposed to be out in February and they're not, it's because they're having issues and they're probably trying to make sure the issue's out. You don't want to send a bad batch of amps out. I don't know much about it. So to answer your question, I've heard no stories, no grumbling, no inner circle stories, or haven't heard anything about it. My guess is that with Fender, here's what I will tell you. I'm as critical of Fender as anyone can be, but I will tell you when it comes to amps and building stuff, I think Fender makes some of the best amps in the world for the price. I know there's guitar tech channels, the guitar amp tech channels that, kind of poo-poo the amps a little bit, and that's fine. I mean, I have my opinions of guitars that I work on too, but aside from that, as someone who proudly sold Fender amps for 12 years, sorry. I was open for 13 years, but 12 of those was Fender amps. Some of the best quality when it comes to what percentage breaks, not quality like the best quality you can buy, but quality when it comes to breaking. So I would say that Fender will probably go out of their way to make sure that they're what they are. Somebody says, Todd0864 says $3,200 for a new Sunn. Ouch. Then if it's that much money, they might be made in the USA, and maybe that's the issue. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be made come in the Mexican facility for that. But I don't know anything about it. That seems like a lot of money. But, I mean, I like them. They sound good. Seth says, checked out King's X with Ty Tabor after last week's podcast. Love them. Who are your other favorite artists and bands? Oh, so many. But, to me, it's like not about my favorites, right? It's not about favorites. It's about favorites that are, underrated. Like King's X is underrated. Like I said, Monty Montgomery's underrated. Bob Schneider's underrated. I'd rather talk about the bands that I think are cool, that are underrated, that maybe that don't hit people's radar. I don't know. That's the problem when you hit me a question like that. I gotta come up with I feel like I gotta come up with a great band and tell you right now who's great. I said Biffy Clyro. Everybody got upset that I said they were Irish when they're Scottish. That happens. Look, Irish. My last name's McKnight. Irish or Scottish, you pretty much both hate the Queen. That'll piss off somebody, I'm sure. Anyways, I hope that you understand that was for a joke. Okay. I know sometimes people get a little sensitive on the other side of the pond about that stuff. But what else? Bands, underrated cool bands. I don't know. So it's towards the end of the show. I'll probably tell you what gift I got and hit another question. Why don't we do this? Why don't I grab something? Hold on a second. Okay. I'll let you, just hold on. Okay, so that was a nice little pause. What I have here for you children that are watching, this is like, all the stuff that's in your phone? This is the stuff we used to carry on. I have like 5 or 6 of these, in the other room, not in the other room, in the adjacent hallway of this room, I have a Bose radio that my wife bought me, and I listen to CDs. This is what I let play in the background. So I have a bunch of CDs. I figured, I don't know, let's look at what's in Phil's collection. I mean, I grabbed the first book, so let's not judge me too hard, okay? because I don't know what's in here. I'm trying to go through what's in here. It's a lot of crazy stuff. I'll just start saying names of crazy CDs I'm looking at. Please, again, keep your judging to yourself. I have Dawkins. I have Richard Cheese. If you guys don't know who Richard Cheese is, Richard Cheese does, he does like lounge jazz versions of metal songs. Crazy. That's how it goes. Millions. I get the idea. I got Dangerous Toys here. I got The Darkness. I got Slaughter. I got The Animals. Best of The Animals. That's great. Arrested Development. Drowning Pool. The Eagles' Greatest Hits. A lot of greatest hits, man. I own a lot of greatest hits. Junior Brown. You want to hear a cool guitar player that's a little on the, country kind of thing. Junior Brown is great. Monty Montgomery. I got this. Red Hot Chili Peppers' Greatest Hits. This is obviously where I keep a lot of the greatest hits. I got Dragon Force. Again, very good. I don't know if they're underrated, but they're very good. I have Mumford & Sons is really good. I have Madonna's Greatest Hits. I got Brooks & Dunn's Greatest Hits. I got Varga. Varga is a band I think that most people would know if you like some cool 80s music. Varga is a little industrial 80s thing, I guess. I don't know if that's what you should call it. I got a crap ton of George Carlin CDs. A crap ton. Whitney Houston's Greatest Hits. Louis Black. Matchbox 20. XYZ, little 80s. Bob Schneider, of course, as I've talked about. I'm hoping Audio Slave. I got a lot of Dave Matthews. Eric Clapton. Pilgrim. I got Larry Mitchell. You know what? That's underrated. Larry Mitchell. Check this out. Deja Vu. That's a great album for those looking up Larry Mitchell. That's an underrated guitar player. God, is he an underrated guitar player. So, by far, talk about a guy who should have got a signature Ibanez. Didn't get his Ibanez. But you know what? He is as humble comes and is as talented as they come. System of Down, Kids Scaring Kids, Scary Kids Scaring Kids. Let's see. I got Crash Test Dummies. I must have been going through a phase. It happens. I like them though. Little shout out to Canada, to Canadian. A lot of stand-up comedians. This may not be the right book. I think we've hit something, right? We got Lynch Mob. Lynch Mob's a great band if you like underrated bands. Cherry Poppin' Daddies. That's a good one too. Somebody says Korn. Korn, I have every Korn CD, but not here. Johnny Cash, Greatest Hits. You gotta have Johnny Cash, man. Look, you can't wear black and not have Johnny Cash. Okay. A lot of John Mayer, a lot of Metallica in here. Best of David Bowie. Like I said, this must be the best of book. Look at that. Extreme Pornography. Apparently, I must have kept the cover for some reason. All right, I think we covered whatever I'm going to cover. There's no magic in here. I was hoping for that magic. There's some great bands that I mentioned. Slipknot, All Hope Is Gone, Disturbed, CKY, U2, Train. Oh, look at this. All the Beatles mono collection right there. Not underrated though, right? Can't have. I feel like the show's gone off the rails now at this point. I got Weezer. Hawthorne Heights is good. So I would say anything I mentioned there. Okay. All right, let's get focused. Let's finish up this show. We got to make sure there's a super chat. I got to take care of them, and then we'll tell you guys what I got for Father's Day. Litface says, hey, Litface, how's it going? He says, Phil and I have something in common. Okay. All right. He says, my good friend from high school also had an N2. I always marveled at the N4 in the catalog. Yeah, I never saw an N4 in person. The N2 was all you could see. No one. I mean, I never saw an N4 until I physically bought one when I was like 28, 29 years old. Is when I bought my first like high-end, that N4. And the N2 was amazing, but I never saw it. He says, never got to play one. Today, my friend runs the best cafe in Budapest. That's awesome. Tell him I said hi and that the N4 was great. Our N2 was great. Fantastic guitar. So The funny thing about, I told you, we were so different, back then when we were young, in the information. My friend had the N2, and if you guys know, the N2 is the cut down version of the N4 guitar. It was made in Korea back then, and it had generic Washburn pickups in it. And he wanted the Nuno pickup. We're like, we got to get the Nuno pickup. And we went to the music store together, and we didn't know anything. There was a Dimarzio X2n there. And we're like, that's the pickup, because it had the blades. And the only one they had was red, had the red. So he bought a red Dimarzio X2n pickup and had it put in his guitar. And we were like, that's the Nuno pickup. That's the Nuno sound. So we thought the Dimarzio X2n was a Bill Lawrence because it looked kind of like it in the pictures of the magazines we saw. So funny, now kids would just Google it or look it up on YouTube. But back then we were just like, I guess that's what it is. Okay, let's get through these super chats. Clown House Cats says, save the fret nibs when refretting a Gibson Les Paul custom. If you can, you should. You devalue a Gibson Les Paul. So if you don't know what he's talking about, the fret nibs are the pieces of plastic that are connected to the binding that come up over the frets on a Gibson. If you plane those down and you refret it without them, you are going to severely lower the value of your Les Paul. I don't know if I've ever done it where I've saved the nibs. I don't remember. The reason is this. I've never had to do it on any of my personal Les Pauls, and I've done it for customers, but usually it's the problem solved in a price. Like, hey, if you want me to do it with the, and keep the nibs, is this price. If you want me to refret without, and usually, they just like the cheapest way is the best way to go. So I don't think I've ever had to do it where I've saved them. I might have done it once. Cannot remember. I'm sure it'll come to me later. But if you can save them, please do it. Probably needs to use stainless steel frets at least. Well, yeah. If you don't want to do it again, I would imagine that would be what I would say. I don't want to do it again. He also said, saw Symphony X live again. Michael Romeo is king. Michael Romeo is fantastic guitar player. Symphony X is amazing. Michael Romeo. That's a throwback. That's great. Thank you, Clifton, for the 5 for fun. Thank you. Just did a super chat. This is the T-Size. Says, hey, Phil, any plans on another Solar guitar? I had the same one you had in the past, and I loved it, but I had to sell it and others the time, but now I cannot find anyone that piques my interest. The Solar I keep looking at is the 7-string that is in the desert yellow. I don't know what they call it, but it's fluorescent yellow, but it's satin. That's what I keep looking at. I just haven't pulled the trigger. I think I looked online a couple times, and I'm like trying to find the weight to see if it's a lighter one. But I would love to put some more Solar guitars on the channel. I think they're fantastic guitars. I love Ola. He's just a great dude, and I think they're a great company. Really cool stuff. Tom, thank you for the super chat. Says, cheers for you and your personal character. Thank you. I appreciate that about you, and happy Father's Day. Thank you. And if you're a father, happy Father's Day to you. If you're not, happy Father's Day anyway. Why not? Mr. S says, happy KYG Day. Loving the CD share. Yeah, I mean, Junior Brown, Richard Cheese, The Darkness, ? Great. Gonna sing, I believe, in a thing called Love at my birthday karaoke tomorrow. Yeah, my collection, people are like, it's eclectic. This is what I did, so you guys know. When I was going in high school, I would save up my lunch money every week, which was like $1.25, right? So I get $1.25 a day for lunch. Maybe $1.50. Maybe it was $1.50. What is that? Like $7-8 a week. I get $7-8 a week for lunch, and I would not eat, and I would take. Hey, why not? My kids are old now. I would ditch every week. The following week, I would ditch third period PE, and I would walk down to the record store and buy a CD. Or cassette. Sorry, cassette. Couldn't afford CDs. Cassette. And then I did that for years. And then eventually, I switched to CDs like everybody else. And then what I did is every job I ever had, good, bad, indifferent, the Army, you name it, corporate America, every paycheck I would buy a CD, every single paycheck. So I did that forever, like forever and ever and ever. And I can tell you when I stopped. I stopped when Best Buy stopped selling CDs. So that's basically when I stopped buying a CD. So that's why I have thousands of CDs. I don't know. There's tons of these books just full of CDs. And so when you buy that much music, it's not like, oh, I'm eclectic. It's just like, what am I going to buy this week? And a lot of times I would buy what was on sale because that's what you did. You're like, oh, I could get this CD, for $6.99. I'm going to buy it. So I just buy music. Anything that was cheap or anything that was in discount bins, I would just buy it because I could listen to it. It was new music on a budget. That's what you did. And I don't know if I like it. I know this. Every CD I have to this day, I can tell you I've listened to over and over and over again because horrible personality trait. Whatever CD I would get, I would listen to nothing but that for the entire week to the next CD. So even if I didn't like it, by the end of the week, I was like, this is great. So that's that on CD. So my CD collection would be a little strange. Plus a lot of CDs I bought, because I'm like, oh, my family would be in the car, my wife's in the car, I want music for them. Okay, so Father's Day. Let's end this on Father's Day. Hopefully all you fathers out there will have a great Father's Day weekend. I was asked, my wife asked me what do I want for Father's Day. My birthday is next month, and so sometimes we attach them too. What do you want for birthday, Father's Day? And it kind of works out. And I said to her, I want to go to a resort where you get to wake up every day and they make you eat healthy food and you get massages and then you exercise and you come back and you're 10 pounds lighter. I said, because I love the resorts that we go to, but I hate coming back 5 pounds heavier. It's like you go to a resort for 5 days and you come back and you gain a pound a day. You're like, I'd like to go to a resort and lose 2 pounds a day. Can we do that? So she looked it up and I'm not kidding. They're like $8,000. And they're a little crazy. They're like, I'm yelling, I'm sorry. They're like, I thought it was going to be cool things like, get up, go for an 8-mile walk, have a breakfast. They're like, no, have a smoothie and then have a smoke seance. And I was like, what? This isn't, put a crystal on your head. And I'm not doing that. So I go, okay, well, I'm not doing that. And so I have been, if you guys don't know, I've been cold plunging for a while. If you don't know what cold plunging is, it just means you're insane. It means you're going cold water for like 3 to 6 minutes. I don't know. I'll tell you why I do it. I was reading something one day and somebody I admire cold plunges and has been for like a long time, like 10 years. And they said every morning they get up and they cold plunge. What is that? You get in ice cold water, right? And they go, you do that and for 3 to 6 minutes. And he says the reason he does it is because when you start your day with with something you don't want to do, the rest of the day becomes easier. And I was like, you know what? I love that idea. And I go, I actually have a cold plunge. It's called my pool. So I was getting up every day and I would brush my teeth and shave and then go into the cold water of the pool for 6 minutes. And I've been doing it. I love it. I actually love it. I have no mystical healing, no weirdness, no nothing. Anyone who has any opinions about it, positive or negative, you can talk about it all you want, but I really don't care. I literally like the idea that the first thing I do every day is something I don't want to do. I just like the idea that I have as long as I've been doing it, I do not love it. I do not look forward to it. It's the thing I got to get through every day, and I just find it works for me mentally. And so the problem is I live in Arizona, and it is 100 and what is it right now? Today is a cool day because it was overcast. Today it's 104. So tomorrow will be 109. Yesterday was like 110. So basically what happened is as of the heat heating up, my pool is warm now. I can't cold plunge in a pool that's 80. So I my wife bought me a cold plunge tank from Desert Plunge. And it's exactly what you think it is. It's a tank that is full of cold water, has a AC unit and just keeps the water ice cold. And so I get up every morning and I sit in cold water, and that's what I got. And somebody says the pool is 90 degrees. My swimming pool by the end of this month will be 97 to 98 degrees, which is funny because I'm 97 to 98 degrees, so it's like swimming in your own sweat. It's pretty gross in Arizona. I have covers on my pool, and we have aerator sprinkles water into your pool at night to keep it down, so it kind of keeps it till it's mid-July before your pool's really warm. But anyway, so for Father's Day, sorry I didn't do a giveaway because we got a little long, but with who could guess it, but none of you guys were gonna guess that, right? So yeah, and my wife's doing it too. I don't know why. I think it's solidarity. I think she looks at me like this, whatever. I don't know. She likes it, I guess. So yeah, you just, so I get up every morning and I sit in ice cold water. It is not pleasant by any means. Your toes hurt, your fingers hurt, it's cold, you get up, and here's what I can tell you. It has definitely had a change in me mentally because my wife can see it definitely too. There's a ton of things she would ask me to do, and I'd tell her, like, hey, I gotta go to the store, you wanna come with me? And I'm like, nah, you can just go. And now I'm like, might as well, because nothing's as bad as sitting in your dumb ass in a bucket of cold water. It's a tub thing. But anyway, so I have an ice tub of cold water. So, all right. So that was my Father's Day present to myself. And my wife went for it because, I think I told you this, we have a rule in my family, my family, which is any gift that is for your physical or mental health is an immediate yes. By the way, I convinced my wife that guitars are for your physical, mental health. And music improves yourself. So anything that improves your mental or physical health in our family is a yes, no matter what it is. So that's how we got it through. All right. So think of me tomorrow. You can wake up and laugh going, I think that dumbass is sitting in his cold water right now. That'd be me. On that note, I want to thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart every Friday for coming and hanging out. For you fathers out there, happy Father's Day. And for you with fathers, make sure to say happy Father's Day. Remember, Father's Day is the easiest holiday of the year. Most fathers just want to be left alone. What do you want? Just go away. All right. On that note, I will see you guys soon tomorrow. Oh, something exciting. Oh, last minute for you guys holding out. Last minute. Tomorrow, exciting video comes out. How to round over your fretboard comes out tomorrow officially for you guys. It's already been out to the patrons. It has one last little tweak that they wanted me to add, and my wife asked me for one little tweak too when she watched it. I'll make those adjustments, and then it'll go out tomorrow. So check that out. Please check out the Laney video because I worked really hard on that, and I think you guys will like it. And then until next Friday, you guys enjoy yourself, play guitar, and thank you for your time. Until the next time, know your gear.
Today's episode of the Know Your Gear podcast is brought to you by Patreon members, channel members, and viewers who like and subscribe. Thank you for making this possible. The Know Your Gear podcast.